Good morning to everyone. I'm Lydia Louis, and I'm going to be presenting on my application of vocabulary traffic cards to 8 students in Form 5 Alamanda in improving their vocabulary in English. So this is the action research that I have done with my Form 5 Alamanda students in order to improve their vocabulary. Okay, just a simple explanation of the action research project. A simple way of teaching vocabulary was needed because I found that students are very weak in their command of the language, especially the words like adjectives, in writing their essays. Even though I've made effort to expose them to vocab, they are not very interested to learn on their own time, and I can't use it all the time in my lesson because it's very time consuming and I need to teach other things other than vocabulary every single lesson. So I thought of a simple way using the traffic light cards which were introduced, the Part 21, Part 21 traffic light cards, which were introduced to us, whereby we have a set of 3 cards, green, yellow, and red colors, and the students can show the cards when the teacher asks whether they understand the lesson. Green to denote that they understand, yellow to not very, and red to show that they don't understand. So I made it 2-in-1, 2 functions. These cards can be used as traffic light cards, and also I have words written on the cards together with their meanings and example of a sentence. And these are distributed to the students at the start of a lesson. They copy down the words into their book, their special notebook, and this becomes the basis for many activities to follow. Okay, reflections on past teaching and learning. So from my point of view, what I found was that it's a real headache teaching vocabulary to students because they refuse to learn new words even when word cards are given to them to memorize and make use of in their essays. So I have a picture there. There's the example of word cards which were done by previous students, and I have displayed them in attractive ways so that students can look at them and learn. Okay, from the student's point of view, so I have another example of word cards. I find it difficult to memorize new words and do not have the motivation to do them at their own time, even when the cards are right in front of their eyes. So I brought these cards into the class, even left some of the cards in the classroom, hoping that the students will learn the words, but to no avail. Okay, so reflections on past teaching in terms of content matter. I could see that the essays produced by the students are subpar and boring. Many use the same old adjectives in describing places and people. In terms of environment, it seems that the students will only learn when they are in the classroom. If I ask them to learn the words at home, I don't know how many % of them will actually do it. And like I said, I can't be teaching vocabulary all the time because a typical English lesson lasts about an hour, about 10 or give or take 10 minutes. And there's not enough time to teach vocabulary all the time. So after mulling over the problems, I decided to focus the action research project on teaching the students vocabulary through the usage of vocabulary traffic cards, which are what I call this innovation. These 2-in-1 cards, vocabulary traffic cards. So every time I will bring the card into the classroom, and at the beginning of the lesson, when there is some time where the teacher is setting up the LCD or laptop, or when the teacher is distributing the teaching aids like mini whiteboards, students will use that time to copy down the words in the cards, 3 cards, so 3 words in their vocabulary notebook. Okay, so the emphasis of this activity, this project, is also to make learning fun. It's individual, but at the same time fun and interesting at the same time. Okay, so the general objective is to improve students' command of the English language by increasing their vocabulary, especially for now, I concentrate on adjectives, which will help them in improving their descriptive skills when writing essays. And overall, the goal is to instill in the students a more positive attitude towards the English language and reduce wastage of time, particularly at the start of a lesson. So there are four specific objectives here. Students need to be able to write at least 10 adjectives to describe places and 10 to describe people during a post-test. In a pre-test, they do the same. Okay, students should be able to copy down 3 words from the traffic lights at the start of every lesson, together with their meanings and sample sentences. And this can be shown from their vocabulary notebook. Students should improve in their section B, paper 2, which is the continuous writing component, which carries 50 marks. And students should show a more positive attitude towards the English subject based on their own feedback and observations from the teacher. Okay, target group are 25 students from Form 5 Alamanda, SMK MERBAU. So analysis of the problems, students are unable to write good essays because of their minimal vocabulary. They do not learn new words because they lack the motivation to learn them on their own. Teachers also cannot ensure that they learn new words all the time because of time constraint during the lesson. And since they are weak in the language, many are fearful of the English subject and they do not like the subject. Okay, so another way I analyzed was observation, just general observation in class. I could find that students are not confident in speaking and writing because of their lack of vocabulary. And I also interviewed a few students, and the majority of them could not converse well and struggled to come up with the right words when I was talking to them. So I also analyzed the students' essays. Most essays score less than 30 out of 50 marks for the continuous writing. And one of the main reasons is the limited vocabulary. There's no variety in the words, phrases, and the sentences used. Okay, so what I did was to carry out a simple pre-test, which was ask them to write down 10 adjectives to describe people and 10 to describe places. The timeline is this, all right, identification of problem, writing, making a vocabulary cards, which took a few days. For the making of the cards, I already had the content matter, just a matter of laminating the cards, copying them into cards of the 3 colors, making them into sets of 3, and then I'll put them into sets of 40. All right, then I carried out the pre-test, and then for 2 months, every single English lesson, I will bring in a traffic lights, vocabulary traffic lights, and I will incorporate a lot of activities based on the words they learn from the vocabulary traffic lights or cards. Okay, then after that, post-test, and then collection of data, analysis, and writing. Okay, so step 1 was making the step 1 in making the vocabulary traffic card. The original cards were these, which were done by previous year students. So I copied them, or I had some students copy them into red, yellow, or green cards. All right. The reason I don't ask them to do their own, find out their own words, is because of constraint of time, since they are facing SPM in just a few months' time. So I use the available previous year students' work. All right. So that's the next step, where I laminated the cards. Now they are in the 3 different colors, and then I made a hole and put the book ring through it. There is 1 set of traffic vocabulary traffic card. And finally, each of these sets, I put in a big ring, a ring of 40, so that I can bring into class each time. I made actually quite a few sets of that. So some of the activities that I used in this, with the words that they copy into their vocabulary cards every beginning of every lesson. So I will test them. For example, one activity was I asked them to organize the words into adjectives to describe people and places, or adjectives that can describe both people and places. All right. Another one, of course, is using spelling. After a few lessons where they have a few words already, so I will test them on some of the words. Okay. When teaching literature lesson as well, like now I'm doing revision with them for Form 5 literature, Captain Nobody. I would give them an essay question and then guide them on how to answer the question. So at the beginning of the lesson for this one, we're talking about Chris Newman, one of the characters in Captain Nobody. And before starting the activity or before going through the question or answers, I asked them to write down 3 characteristics or qualities of Chris using words taken from their vocabulary traffic cards. So they had to list down 3 words that they thought could be used to describe Chris Newman, and they had to give me evidence to show why this word should be accepted in describing Chris Newman. So this was HOTS, okay? Higher level thinking skill was carried out here, was implemented here, whereby they have to support their answer. Okay, another activity was this one usually during the beginning of the lesson. I will ask 1 or 2 students to come to the front and share with the class one word that they have learned from their vocabulary traffic cards. Okay, so after all these activities for 2 months, about 2 months, the post-test was done, and the result was quite encouraging. Not only did all of them not only were all of them able to write down 10 words to describe people and 10 words to describe places, the adjectives that they used were from the vocabulary traffic cards, and these were adjectives that were much higher level than what they used before. So the overall is here, overall cost for one set of 40 cards, that is 120 cards of 3 colors, all right, is a total cost of 25 ringgit. Okay, now comes to the comparison of pre-test and post-test results. So in general, candidates got 83.8% for the pre-test, and for the post-test, they achieved 100%. So in terms of quantity, students were not that bad. In the pre-test, they could answer. Some of them could get 20 out of 20, 10 adjectives for places, 10 adjectives for people. Only a few of them could not. For the post-test, all of them could achieve 100%. So I'm not so much impressed by the quantity, but the quality, because after looking at the words or adjectives that they use, I could see that in the post-test, the adjectives that they use were much better in terms of words that are more specific and more relevant, and not those that are always commonly used in essays. Okay, so is some comparisons of the essays before and after. As you can see here, before they use words that are beautiful, happy, funny, sad, the usual words. But after, they could use words like xenodocile, frank, aloof, beefy, all right, berserk. Of course, there were some with some errors in spelling and so on, but I accept that as part of the learning process. All right, courteous. All right. So next, I compared the first and second trial exam results. Actually, the second trial exam was just a few days ago, the English exam. So from here, I found that I just concentrated on section B, continuous writing, and I found that there was an increase in the average marks by about 4.16%, a slight but still an improvement, given that it was just carried out for 2 months. If only I had known about this and carried it out the whole year, I'm sure that by now their essays would have improved tremendously. Okay, so 17 candidates improved, 7 the marks dropped, 1 remained constant. Okay, the main reason a few candidates decrease in their marks is not so much because of the adjectives, but because they wrote out of point. So it's not because of the vocabulary. And some of them, they didn't improve because they did not make use of the words. All right. So those who really make use of the vocabulary that they learned during these 2 months, I could see that their essays were much better. Their descriptive skills were much better. Okay, then the next one was feedback from the 25 students. So all of them had very good feedback with comments such as, oh, it's fun, they learned a lot of new vocabulary, there were a lot of interesting activities, and it's wonderful to learn in a happy situation. No doubt some of their feedback, there were still grammatical errors and so on, but it was really from the heart, and I could see that they meant what they said. Okay, so reflection on this whole thing, I found that in terms of learning, students definitely learn new words and there is improvement in their essays. Okay. So I feel that if I continue with this, as I will, there will definitely be even more improvement. And this is something that I'll continue to do even with my students for next year. This is going to be part of my lesson from now on, using vocabulary, traffic cards, because it is something that is very easy to do and you can really see the improvement. All right. So not just in terms of learning in their marks, in terms of student involvement, every student is involved actively, whether in copying down the words, explaining the words, or any other activity related to the vocabulary traffic cards. So here the students, they're not just sitting idly by while one or another person is doing the work. As soon as they get the card, all of them take out their book, they start copying. And the activities using mini whiteboards and markers, all of them are involved. So student involvement improved tremendously with the introduction of these cards. Okay, the third thing I could see is attitude towards the English subject. Students have a more positive attitude. So as can be seen from the comments and just by observation from the teacher, I could see now that they're looking forward to the English lesson. All right. And in terms of discipline, that class has not many discipline problems. The only thing is that, like I said at the beginning of the lesson, sometimes it takes up to 5 minutes to distribute the mini white boards to the students, the markers. So what I do now is ask them to get the traffic lights first. And while that process is going on, the teacher is getting ready the laptop, LCD, or the students are helping, 1 or 2 students are helping to distribute the mini whiteboards and markers. So that time is not wasted. The students are copying down the words. So that 5 minutes is not wasted. And immediately after that, I will usually have the activity whereby I call one or 2 of the students to come to the front, and they have to, without looking at their book, choose one word and explain to the students by giving the definition and a sample sentence. So that way, students are sharing what they have learned. Okay. Another function of the cards, as I have mentioned, is to show whether they understand the lesson or not. So from here, you can see another improvement. If the teacher asks, do you understand? They don't say, yes, together, or no, things like that. Each student shows a color of their card to denote whether they understand, don't understand, or don't really understand. Okay, next, flexibility. These vocabulary traffic cards can be used for many activities, and different sets can be produced for different purposes, which is a great teaching and learning aid. So, like I mentioned, these cards can be used not just for adjectives. I have another set that I made for verbs, and it's limitless. Next year, when I'm teaching new students, especially they are not exam classes, I'll have more time. I can give tasks to the students to come up with words like verbs and so on. And then from there, make some more sets of cards. And these cards can be taken into the class interchangeably. Today, if I want to concentrate on verbs, I take in the cards, the set of cards using verbs. So these are my teaching aids. At the same time, the students are using them. All right. So it is limitless what can be done with these cards as teaching aids. Okay, then I've shared this idea also with other teachers in the school and from in other schools as well through WhatsApp. And some of the teachers in my school have taken up the challenge, and for example, Pendidikan Islam, they have also done cards like this, of course, not with adjectives written on them, but with notes regarding their subject, and their students also responded positively. So that is all for my presentation today. Thank you for your attention. And just like to share here, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So it was not easy for me to become an innovative or creative teacher, but I took it step by step, and now I found that it is really worthwhile and very interesting and fulfilling, trying new methods to teach my students. Thank you very much.